Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are and whatever time of day you are having. Welcome to our yoga practice for hunger, hope, and healing. At our last time that we had together, there was, I shared with you all my experience that I had recently of abandoning myself. And this week in our call together, there was quite a few really insightful things that were talked about regarding boundaries. And for most of us, setting boundaries is something that we're learning. We're learning how to set them with others, also how to set boundaries with ourselves. And a couple of examples or things that were discussed. One was when you might perhaps get a phone call that you know is going to take a lot of energy from you, or one that you want to be composed during. And sometimes those calls happen, of course, when we least expect them, or at a time that is inconvenient. So one of the strategies we spoke of was to not answer that call immediately. Now, that does not mean don't return that call. It means you can call that person back in 2 to 5 minutes, say. So you could even send them a text that says, I will call you back in about 5 minutes, so that you can give yourself time to become centered. And one of the many ways we can do that is by utilizing our breath, which we'll do in a few minutes together. This is important because, let's just say that phone call is coming in right now. You might in your mind think, oh, not today. What? And you might not even recognize that your body is also having a response to that, because the thought comes automatically. But the body is having a response to that. Our body is always responding to the environment and the situation that we're in. And if we aren't aware of it, we can't help to soothe that. So if you don't physically notice your body having some kind of change, but you do notice that your mind is, it's safe to assume that the body is also having a reaction. And so we go to the body to help bring ourselves back into center, the capital S self, the Y self, the lighthouse self, whichever one of those things kind of resonate with you, so that when we do call this person back, we can do so from a place inside of us that is a little bit more grounded, as opposed to just picking up the phone in the middle of something. And another point we also touched on this week was that when setting boundaries is something new for us, or something that we are really trying to practice with, sometimes when we kind of look over what we've said or how we've said it, it might not feel like it came from exactly the wisest place. So we set our boundary, but we realize later, maybe I could have done that with a little more grace. And that's part of the process. It's part of the process of learning how to set boundaries and figuring out how to do that from our wisest place and in the kindest way that we can. And so that took me back to this abandonment of self, because that started with my inability to set a boundary in the moment. And that brings me back again to a practice, a yoga practice that involves supporting the core and strengthening the core. And that resonates with me a lot because much of my feeling body is located in my stomach area. And I know for a lot of others, it's located up here in the chest area. So we can think of kind of this whole section of our body as the responder sometimes to our environment. And to strengthen that will help us to become more in our center. So let's get started with a little grounding, settling in breath here. So find your comfortable seated position, which also means that the spine is extended, crown of head reaching to the sky. The chin comes down just a bit, shoulders moving away from the ears, settling down. And there is just a slight engagement here of the abdominals, just enough so that you recognize that the abdominals are on board in this position. The breath is really the pathway to becoming more aware of how we're feeling in our bodies. So as you start to follow each inhalation and exhalation, start with a curiosity about where the breath is right now for you. And just a noticing of that. And wherever it is that your breath is right now, over the next several cycles, allow that breath to become longer and softer and move deeper into the body. Perhaps you're feeling the breath fill both lungs all the way to the bottom of the lungs, feeling the chest rise and fall. And then you might notice the breath being able to be felt in the belly, sensing into the rise and fall there as well. Just noticing the breath and then the energy that flows through the torso with your breath cycles. So we're going to be focusing a bit on this area today. So just feel into how the front of the body expands and contracts with the breath. You might be able to notice the sides of the body, especially like the side ribs, feeling how those expand and contract with the breath cycle on each side. And you might be able to notice the breath in the back body as well. So perhaps the shoulders, the back ribs, even the low back for some. And just for today, we can visualize this torso area as a way to access our center selves, to move from the wise self. And then for the next about 3 cycles of breath or so, let's see if you can notice what a couple of minutes of longer, slower breaths, what kind of impact that has on your internal world. And then when you're ready, you can gently open the eyes. And the first breath practice we're going to do, we worked on a little bit last time, and it is a more vigorous breath practice, but you go at a pace that feels comfortable for you. And it looks like this, where the inhale, the arms reach up, palms open. Exhale, the palms close and come down. And so it's rather quick, like this. And it is not to leave you breathless. And so this would be something that you could do when you get that unexpected call that you're going to call someone back, and you have an inkling that your body might have responded to that in some way. And so you want to be able to kind of move that energy through before coming down into a more settled place. So we'll start with that breath. So as we inhale, let's bring the arms up. Exhale, closing and bringing down. So inhale up, exhale down, and you'll start to move at your own pace. Really nice. Keep going for a few more cycles. And then when you come to an exhale, you can stop this practice by letting the hands come down. Take a full inhalation, full exhalation. One more time, full inhalation, full exhalation. Okay, let's do that again. Inhaling up, exhale down. When you're ready, when that exhale feels complete, letting the hands come down back to the lap. Inhale fully, exhale fully. And we'll do this about for 5 breath cycles. Feel the energy that's been created, knowing that you've helped to kind of harness that energy that might have been triggered or activated, or putting it to good use. And after this next exhalation, you can open the eyes, and we'll add one more practice to that, which is our say no to say yes practice. Usually we do the standing, but we're going to do it from seated. So both hands in front of you, palms closed. And remember, for this one, I'll talk you through these first ones, but if you know it, go ahead and start doing it. You're going to inhale, pushing away that which is not needed with the open palm. Exhale, pulling back that which you do need. So it's yes, or sorry, red, no, yes. And then when you're ready, pausing, coming back in center, release the palms down and do 2 long inhales and exhales here. Beautiful. And once more. Couple more times like this. And then when you feel complete, coming back to center, palms come down. And this time we'll work on 5 or so long inhalations and exhalations. And then as you're ready, opening the eyes. Those are 2 breath practices that you can do. They don't take a lot of time. I think that probably was a total of maybe 3 minutes or 4. You can do that to help bring yourself back into center, move some angst through you, and then you would be ready to return that call or walk into that appointment or go have that conversation, whatever that is. Let's come to hands and knees, and we'll start today's practice with some core work. So I always use a blanket under my knees because it feels delightful. So if you would like to try that, go ahead. Have some room on the side of your mat if you can. So we can extend the legs out later. But when you come into hands and knees, we want to really spread the fingers wide, pressing into the top pads of your fingers and the base of the fingers, as well as the first finger and the thumb. So you're really creating a stable foundation here. The hands are pushing into the earth. Feet, shins are also pushing into the earth. As you inhale, pull the belly in. Let the head hang down. Exhale, let the belly drop, gaze comes up. This is our cat-cow. And we're really going to focus here, not so much on the movement of the spine, which I know is familiar to many of you already, but more so today on the pressing into the earth and creating the strength, which I sometimes like to visualize as that being me able to feel my boundaries and the importance that those are for me. And perhaps that might resonate with you as well. So a few more cycles like this. And then coming back to center, go ahead and take your right leg out to the right. The toes are pointed forward. The pinky side of your foot is parallel to whatever is next to you. Put your weight into the left hand, left knee, right foot, and then we're going to inhale that right arm up to the sky. Exhale, let the arm come down, and it might like to curl a little bit under the left. Just moving like this, creating a lot of space for yourself, but also feeling into the strength of those limbs that are holding you up. So there is this fluidity here as well, i.e., flexible boundaries. Knowing with discernment when those need to be reinforced. Okay, next time that right arm is coming up to the sky, pause there, really reach the fingertips. Press strongly into the supports that you have in the legs and arms. And then nice and easy, bring that right hand down. Reestablish your foundation, bring the right leg in. And then take out the left leg. Toes again pointing forward, shifting that weight into the right. And then we begin the inhaling up, exhaling down, a little bit coming under that right arm. A couple more times like this. Next time that arm is up, really reach those fingers up to the sky. Take a couple of nice long, slow breaths here. Feeling nice and strong in the legs, that arm reaching up to the sky. And as we exhale, bring left arm down, left leg back. I'm going to work on some planks here. So you can take your knees back a little bit, the hands forward a little bit, and we'll start with these half planks. So you'll come forward, pull the belly in, breathe, feel the strength of the arms, feel your abdominals. Sense into the core of who you are. Exhale, come back into a child's pose. You can take the knees nice and wide. Perhaps the head might come down to the ground. You may need to use a block. And you're just going to take a few long, slow breaths here, feeling the energy that was created. Notice how it starts to dissipate. Just keeping yourself nice and centered. And then we'll come try that again. Coming back to that half plank position. Strong in the arms. Abdominals engaged. Try to keep the face soft. Sensing into your core. Knowing that strengthening not just our bodies, but our abilities. Ways that we set up our boundaries and are able to enforce them also require strength. And exhaling, coming back into child's pose. Several long, slow breaths here. And then gently coming up, let's find the blocks and place them underneath the hands. So just like you are in cat-cow, shoulders over wrists, this time we're going to turn the toes under and press up into downward facing dog. So as you come into down dog, find a place that's comfortable for you. You might even like to move the hips back and forth. Perhaps bend one leg at a time. If you find your abdominal might be in the way a little bit, you can take the feet a little bit wider. So there's room for the belly. From here, we're going to come into a plank with hands on the blocks. See if we can do 3 with nice, long, slow breaths. And then back into downward dog. Perhaps feeling some heat. Once more, finding our plank position. Feeling your own strength. And then back into downward facing dog. 2 nice long breaths here. And then gently you can walk the hands back toward the feet so that you come into a forward fold. Pausing here, just noticing how you feel now after a few strengthening practices. And then start to draw the belly in, coming up, meeting and standing, inhaling arms up, exhaling down. Let's do this several times. Focusing on the heart center, the abdominals, and just imagining this area strengthening. Even that our ability to tune into this area of our body. Getting a little bit better with each breath cycle. Next time those arms are up, we're going to keep them there. And then sit back as if we're going to sit in a chair. So we're in chair pose here. More of your weight is in the heels. You're holding the core in. And you are really trying to keep your face soft and have some nice, long, slow breaths here. Feeling the energy building in your body. Knowing that this helps to create a strength within. Exhaling, releasing all of that down into the earth, any excess that is not needed. Few long, slow breaths. Pulling the belly in, coming up. Let's inhale and exhale the arms a few times here. Really being gentle with the arms. So there's no hurry here. Just kind of languishing in this movement. And once more, next time the arms come up, we will sit back into our chair pose. Several long, slow breaths here. Perhaps bringing to mind a time when you really felt like you were able to advocate well for yourself or your children or a family member or a friend. Recognizing that that ability is in you. And exhaling, folding forward. And breathe. Slow and steady. Drawing the belly in. Coming up, a couple of inhales and exhales here. Next time the arms come up, palms come to heart center. Pause here. Take several breaths here and just notice any sensations that you might be having from the heart to the belly. Even if that is just feeling the breath moving through those areas. Just creating awareness here. And then releasing the hands down. This time we're going to come into a warrior one pose. So taking your right leg back behind you. I like to take my feet a little wider on this one because it feels more comfortable. Hands to the hips, and we're just going to bend into this front leg a few times. And that is to kind of warm up the knee a little bit, but also so we can see that our stance is where we want it to be. You want the knee to stay over the ankle, not going too far over. And you definitely want to be able to see some of your toes, especially the first and second one. So once you get your spot, draw the belly in a little bit and see if you can roll the shoulders back. We're going to take our hands with the palms facing forward and place them on the low back. Your gaze can go up a little bit. Perhaps it might go to the place in your room where the ceiling meets the wall. And as we are standing in Virabhadrasana 1 or Warrior 1, breathe into the heart center. Feel the strength of the abdominals as you have your core a little bit engaged. And just notice any sensations. Notice how the breath is moving through these areas as you hold a nice solid foundation with the feet pressing into the earth. Beautiful. You can release the hands. We'll gently step forward in one or more steps. Shake out the hips a little bit, the legs a little bit, and then we'll come to the second side. And again, we're going to give the knee a little chance to warm up a bit and to really find a stance that feels nice and stable here. Once you have that, shoulders roll back, hands come to it's either like the low back or the hip area, whatever's comfortable for you. We're a little bit squeezing the shoulder blades together, the lower abdominals engaged so we can move up from there. So it's a slight back bend here. And then we're going to breathe into heart center, into the belly. Sensing into this area of our body, which often is trying to tell us something. Beautiful. We start to release the hands, step forward, one or more steps. Let's shake everything out here. The arms, the hands, the legs. Yeah, just like that. It's like a little kid, right? They always love to do this stuff at the park. It just seems so freeing, letting everything go. Okay, let's come back to a Tadasana. We're going to add a little breath practice in here, similar to this, but not as quick. So it's an inhale with the arms up and kind of a sighing out exhale, coming down. Inhaling up. Yes, sighing out, coming down. Beautiful. Do this at your own pace. No breathlessness. Sometimes you can get, lightheaded if your head is moving too fast. So be mindful of this. It does not need to be fast to be effective. Sigh it out with the mouth open. Yeah, really just letting go of that which is not needed. About 2 more of these. And then really reach those fingertips out to the sky next time you come up. Palms then come to heart center. And you can pause here with the gaze lowered or the eyes closed. Noticing once more those effects on the internal system. And then releasing the hands down. We're going to come back down to the floor. So gather what you'd like to have for Shavasana. And again, leave some room on the side of your mat. We'll be letting our legs go to one side or the other. And you can have a little blanket for support under your head as well. And once you get down to the ground, we're just going to pause here with the knees bent, feet pressing into the earth. And let the arms rest down by the side. And take a couple of breath cycles here. Something that we can do for ourselves when we think that there just is no energy to give is to lay on the floor and just let the earth support us while we breathe. You might even like to try a few of those inhales with the kind of open mouth sighing exhale. And really feel the body release into the earth, especially from the shoulder blades down to the pelvis. This is the area we've been trying to stay in tune with. And then we'll take the feet about as wide as the mat and the arms out to the side with the palms facing up. Letting the knees just gently roll or slide over to the right. You'll be on the sides of your feet generally on this, and don't worry about the knees coming to the floor. They do not have to at all. Take a few long, slow breaths here. You can notice where you might feel some sensation. Can change every day too. For me today is in my thigh on this posture. Then back to center, second side. Several long, slow breaths. Back to center. Over to the right again. Just keep breathing, keep the face soft. Center. And to the left. Slow, steady breaths. Back to center. Find your blocks. Hopefully they're nearby. can use your legs if you like. I like to have, so for this one, you might only like one block. I like to have two, so you can decide once we get up there. I'm going to remove the support underneath my head and neck because I want my head to be flat on the ground for this. The blocks will be, for me, on the lowest height. Again, you might like to adjust this. Some people like to go one notch higher. We'll bring the heels in close to the hips. Knees and feet they're lined up with the hips for this. We're going to lift the hips and slide the 2 blocks underneath the sacrum area. And then place them back down on the blocks. So here, right, I want you to be pressing into the feet. So the blocks are just here for a little bit of support. And take a few long, slow breaths here. And start to bring your awareness to the chest, the heart, the belly. And we're going to let the right leg extend. The heel stays on the floor. Just take several long breaths here. Try to stay focused on the heart center and the belly. Just bringing awareness to this area of the body in a variety of positions. And gently start to slide the right leg back into a bent position with the foot on the floor. And then we'll slide the left out. Again, taking notice. Typically one side is a little bit different than the other. Bringing our awareness to the chest and the belly. Just observing the sensations that may be created there. And then sliding that left foot up. We'll do the right again. And then we can experiment with also taking the left leg out as well. If this brings any back discomfort, go back to doing one leg at a time. Again, some long, slow breaths. Once more, noticing sensation in chest and belly. And then we'll slide one leg at a time back into position. And this time, let's bring both the knees in towards the chest. And you can stay right here or extend both legs toward the sky, heels pressing up to the sky. The foot's a little bit flexed, so the toes are coming more toward the face or toward the body. Tuning into the heart center and belly with the breath. Really letting the earth support us in this position. Gently starting to bend the knees. So both knees come once more toward the chest. And from here, let your right leg come down, followed by the left. Press both feet into the earth as you lift the hips. Move the blocks and just pause right here. Breathing into sensation, noticing. Noticing how the body responds to our practice. From here, we're going to make our way into Shavasana. So finding some comfort for under the head, perhaps also under the legs. I like to use a bolster under my thighs and knees. So find what's comfortable for you. Once you get settled, kind of check in and see if there's any movement or adjustments that you would like to make. Also want to make sure that you are feeling at a comfortable temperature. So if you're not, make sure you get a blanket. And then we'll come back to our breath, just like we did at the beginning of our practice. And letting that breath guide us more to our internal awareness. And at first, we can have some intentional, longer, softer breaths here. And then the more you start to feel relaxed, moving into a deeper sense of rest, you might notice that the breath naturally moves to being a little bit shallower. You can let that happen, knowing that if the mind starts becoming busy, you go right back to longer, softer breaths. And for this Shavasana, just focus for the next minute or so on the chest and the heart center. Perhaps having an appreciation for this area of the body that so often gives us the signals or clues that we might need some attention, some shift. Letting each exhalation, allowing your body to rest a little bit deeper. For these next few minutes, setting all things to the side, resting in the care that you've given yourself today. We'll start to have a bit of a gentle awakening. Fingers, toes, wrists, and ankles. You might want to bring in one knee at a time. I like to rest my feet on the bolster and just let my knees gently sway side to side. Just find something that feels soothing for you here. And you can roll to your right side and pause there. And take 2 long, slow breaths. Really trying to stay in this moment. And when you find that next exhalation, pressing the hands into the earth, coming up to find a comfortable seat. Placing your hands at heart center as the palms and fingers are gently pressing in toward one another. Feeling gratitude to yourself for showing up for you today, showing up for your practice, for the ways in which you care for yourself. And also a sense of gratitude for the community that we have to share ourselves with and witness our own growth as well as those of others. Thank you for being here and practicing with me. Namaste.